you have these 2 tops and 2 bottoms and 2 models.
2 tops,
and
2
that's
bottoms, and 2 models sounds like a party.
Lucky for you, that's what I like. What's up, guys? Quad Artist here. We are back with another Q&A with the devs. It is actually early in the morning where I'm at right now, which is why it is sunny outside. Which is a rare occasion. I don't foresee me doing many of these in the morning time. I prefer nighttime. I'm more of a night owl anyways. But regardless, I don't know if the sun's probably going to mess with a lot of the lighting, so that's probably why I'm really, really dark. Maybe if I back up a little bit, you can see my face. But anyways, we are back with a Q&A with the devs. We're going to have Josh with us this time. He is one of the 3 co-founders, and I think the best way to explain who he is have him explain it to you. So here we go with Josh.
So, Josh, I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but just in case their parents are in the room or, someone else, why don't you tell chat who you are and what you do on the Phantom Abyss?
Right. So I am one of the 3 company founders. I am the lead programmer and technical director. Essentially, if it's in the game and it does a thing, I've probably had something to do with it.
Perfect.
Exactly. Perfect. So, first question, here we go. It's going to be directed straight to the speedrunners. Let's get right into it.
And we're off.
Cool. So our first question, were there any plans to add an in-game timer display, official leaderboards, a speedrun.com integration? All of these things are things that we are thinking about adding. We want to make sure that we get them right when we do them, so we'll have to make sure that we ask some speedrun people so that we don't build the wrong thing, because the last thing we want to do is spend all the time and effort of adding features for them to just be ignored because they don't act the right way. But yes, those are on our list of things to add. Hopefully we can get to them sooner rather than later.
So again, speedrunners, remember, if you want this timer stuff, you want these in-game overlays, time, I don't exactly know what you want. Josh and Ben are still also questioning what you want. Make sure you go to the Discord, remind them. Pretty sure they have questions for y'all because they want to make sure that what you guys want is what they're going to put in the game. But now for people like me who are interested in the music, I have kind of 3 points that he kind of goes in order, so I just kind of, again, put it all together. It's about the music of the game. He talks about the composer, and then he also talks about, dropping an album maybe. So that's something I am curious about.
Who composes the game's music? So the game's music is done by Cedar Jones, who we previously worked with at another company, and he's excellent at what he does. He's worked at a couple of places himself, including Sega and Halfbrick. And how do we listen to the music out of the game? So I did just ask him that. There is currently not a soundtrack release, but now that he knows that people are interested in it, then he'll be considering it and how to make it work, because it is slightly different when you're trying to listen to music versus playing it in the game, because the game dynamically modifies how the music sounds depending on what's happening. So like each kind of room has its own music, then the music has an intensity level which gets ramped up and down depending on like how much danger the game thinks you're in. And also there's the music for the Guardians, especially the Devouring Rage, that's, that ramps up according to how much danger you're in as well. So turning those kinds of pieces of music that are designed to be dynamic into something that's linear is a task, and something that takes a little bit to get right and sound natural to someone who's used to hearing it in the dynamic way. But he's a professional and he'll make that happen. I'm not sure how long that will take, but not working on like any new pieces, I think, right now. So he might have scope to do that. We'll let you know when that's available.
So the third point I wanted to make was the fact that, I don't know if he caught it, he says he's not working on anything at the moment. So does that mean that the music for the fourth Guardian is already done? Or will the fourth Guardian have a different soundtrack, something similar to the Devouring Rage, where the closer it gets, the more intense it gets? That's what I was kind of curious at, but he doesn't really mention. He just says that he's not working on anything at the moment. If you kind of see he's thinking about what he should or should not say to give away too much information. That's why I think if something has to do with the fourth Guardian, that there's something soundtrack-wise that has to do with it. But on the next point, it is character customization. We mentioned this last time with Ben, but Josh is bringing a different perspective. Just like the intro, it has something to do with 2 tops, 2 bottoms, and 2 models. He doesn't want to just have that. He wants to give the players a full-fledged array of customization, including whips. So let's get right into it.
Character customization. So you'll notice that we have the basic setup for character customization. Yes, you get dumped in with a randomly assigned character at the moment, but that proves that we have the ability to have different clothing, different skin tones, different body shapes. So that's all stuff that we knew that we wanted to put in, and we do want to put in. It's just going to take us a while to get all the pieces and to get enough pieces in there that we feel it's worthwhile giving it to players and saying, like, here's a new set of features. We already have whip skins for the basic whip. We could add skins for other whips. We have talked about that, and theoretically the system should be able to do that, but we haven't tried it on anything but the base whip at the moment. So we want to give you all the players chances to show off and chances to customize and, display some personality.
So I knew that they were going to do something with whip skins. I figured with the Twitch cosmetics that they would do something not exactly the same for every whip, but maybe change the fire whip to maybe have a blue design or a green design. You give the whips, like he says, just more customization to it. I'm willing to bet some money, not really, but that you're gonna have to use the keys to buy them. The only thing that makes logical sense to me is using keys to buy whip skins. Also character customization, so I guess different shirts or pants or stuff like that, I'm guessing would also be in a category to use your keys for. Next, he does go and talk about the Rift, the 4th level that is coming out soon, so I'm excited for that. Here we go.
Thoughts on how the Rift, which is Area 4, might be harder than Inferno. One thing that you'll get is more new trap types, that some of them will be exclusive to the Rift, just as some traps are only from the caverns and on, some are only from the Inferno and onwards. You'll get a new set that'll be introduced in the Rift, including some of the ones... I'm not sure if they're in all of them. I'm not sure. Maybe I shouldn't spoil that. But Ben showed off some concept art, and those are coming, and other things are coming as well. So the more different types of objects that you have to keep in your head to interact with, the harder that gets. We are also thinking about how to increase the difficulties of the Guardians. So some of them, it makes sense to keep ramping them up on their current trajectories. Some of them, we will have to start modifying their abilities once it gets to a certain difficulty. So I've had suggestions that the Eye of Agony should, instead of its laser stopping at a wall, it should just go forever.
Who suggested that?
People who clearly think that Guardian is too easy.
Well,
I've also had suggestions that the laser should bounce, which I thought was pretty cool. Not sure that one would necessarily make it harder, just cooler. So,
it bouncing, that would be pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how far it bounces for, because if it bounced all the way around a room and came back, that could be very scary. And the Devouring Rage, we wanted to not just make it chase you at a constant speed, but every now and again, charge up and dash at you.
No, that's a terrible idea. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Well, maybe you'll have to take the calming blessing.
I'm never going to get to a point where the Devouring Rage goes above and beyond. So I'm safe. I'm safe. So I guess it's fine. It's fine, I guess, if you want to do that.
But we've added the ability to add extra things to those layouts, and then those extra pieces get turned on once you reach a certain difficulty. So instead of just a spike trap, it's a spike trap with something else in between or something else on top to just layer it up and make it more difficult. There are so many ways for us to make the game more difficult. Generally, the problem we have has been finding interesting, easy content.
That was a lot of information taken. So basically, he went over I wrote down 3 main points. The Rift, so T4, that there is going to be a specific trap that is in T4 that's not in any other. I think the best way to look at it is Caverns introduces the rotating darts that can shoot in any direction. Not any direction, but 360. And then that's brought into the Inferno. And the Inferno has the lava, which is not found in any other level so far. So I'm guessing the lava is gonna be in the Rift, if the trend is continuing, which I enjoy a lot because that means that the Fire Whip is gonna be more viable than just the Inferno. I already love the Fire Whip as is, but it's just gonna mean that getting a T4 relic for me is more plausible with the Fire Whip than any other whip. And then the second part was the difficulties of Guardians that are going to ramp up. Having the Eye of Agony just shoot constantly sounds so terrifying, but so fun at the same time. I don't know how that's going to work out when you're trying to run and you got to open up a door, wait for the door to open. It's going to be shooting at you, so it's not going to be super fair, but I'm pretty sure they're going to work that out. But having Devouring Rage kind of do like a little boost of speed would be really interesting because I know right now with the Lightning Whip, you can basically outrun the Devouring Rage without any problem as long as you don't have anything blocking you up front. So giving the Devouring Rage a little bit more speed to kind of scare you a little bit more. It's scary, but it seems like it'd be a lot of fun. And then of course the fact that they can make the game as hard as they want blows my mind because after when I first started playing, I was like, oh, please stop. It's so hard, so difficult. I want to just, walk along and easily make it into the Inferno. But now as I play more and more, it is becoming a little bit easier. So more difficulty for me is more fun. I do understand that other people may have a different opinion. They would rather it not be as difficult. But he made a point where it's easy to make a very difficult, intricate design level, but it's very hard to actually make a simple level that can regain people's attention. Like the spinning rooms are pretty cool. I like the spinning rooms. They're simple, they just spin, but they're difficult as well. Next, he does talk about player stats again, similar to Ben. Like I said, some of these questions are not necessarily repeats, but people are asking in different ways. So this is again Josh's take on the player stats.
Have we considered adding visible player stats? Yes. So there are a bunch of statistics that we can already display. We're not tracking everything in a way that could be recorded or played back. So we are recording some things to our analytics tracking, but we're not recording the same things in a way that we could go back to the players, but we could. So we do have some statistics on how often people die to spikes versus how often people die to fall damage versus how many people die to the Guardians. We have that kind of information in our analytics, but that's not currently set up in a way that we could play it on a stats page in the game. But we do get requests about showing player stats, including global player stats fairly often, so I think that's going to end up in the game sooner or later.
So that is good news that we do hear that it is possible that we are more likely going to get that feature in, because I know a lot of people have been asking about player stat. I am curious to see, because they have the stats of how many times have you died to this certain trap as opposed to this certain trap. I wonder if they kind of use that to see how effective one trap is as opposed to another. Similar to what I would think of the red spikes. I don't think they're as effective. I don't think they have killed as many people as, let's say, the proximity traps. But we have the good news that we are probably going to get that soon, so a lot of people are going to be happy with that. Next, again, going on the topic of traps, one thing when I was doing my traps video for YouTube, I realized that the spinning blades were all clockwise. None of them were counterclockwise. And someone actually asked this question, not me, but this person realized that as well, that why are they all clockwise?
Why didn't the temple architects think about counterclockwise spinning blade traps? Look, I'm not one to question the wisdom of the temple architects, and I don't think it's necessarily very wise for other people to do that, because they do fill the temples with deadly traps.
Is that based on the calendars of South America? I know they've got a lot of wheel-like calendars. Is that part of the depth of research?
Jay does bring a good point of the research of how far have they got into this lore. Where is the temple located? That is a very interesting question that I never really thought about asking until this moment, but luckily for us, someone already did.
Where the temple's located. I mean, it looks like they're somewhere under a jungle, but I think there's probably more information coming about that.
So hearing that it is somewhere in jungle-ish areas kind of flips my concept of what the Shiny Kingdom was that's in the lore. I, for some reason, thought it took place maybe like in Egypt. I thought of like a Babylon-esque kind of kingdom that was kind of thriving, but that was more in the Middle East. Now I'm thinking more of like an El Dorado-esque kind of kingdom that was hidden away, tucked in the jungle, and thrived in its small communities that, you know, entice people that came to come over. And if you think about it, you gotta have all the gold. El Dorado is the city of gold, so it makes sense that that's where all the gold is coming from. It just makes sense with all the gold, the jewels, the South American-esque kind of themes that are being displayed. So that's why I think I'm flipping my original thought. I don't think I ever said in the video of Babylon-esque kind to more of an El Dorado-esque type of city is where it's probably located. After T4, we don't get too much information about the T5 region, but someone did ask about the legendary keys. Again, Josh doesn't have too much info, and he kind of brings it back to T4, letting us know that it is happening soon, which I'm so excited for.
What timeline are we looking for legendary keys? So the game, we said it was going to be in early access for a year. So I wouldn't be expecting legendary keys until, you know, towards the end of that. But the next kind of key is coming soon. We have the art most of the way done for the Rift area. We're working through making the traps and layouts for it, and yeah, it's on our roadmap.
Boom. So that's right there. T4 is coming soon, with the T4 being, you know, in the works, almost done, and the overturned update that just happened recently. He brings up an interesting point of how they are balancing bug fixes with new design, new elements, new features, whatnot. So I'll let him explain that to you.
What is the priority of bug fixes versus new features? So we go through cycles where making new things and then we're fixing bugs. Currently, we're in a new features phase. I'm reworking how the dungeons work so that they generally have more phantoms in them, and they give you more options for which relic you want to pick up, because we've had, you know, a bunch of feedback that when people are relic hunting, that they have to play a lot and get a lot of duplicate relics, and understand that that's not the best. So we're trying to address that at the same time as, you know, increasing the ghost population, because we're currently not seeing as many ghosts in each section of the dungeon as we would like. So we're trying to make that ghost population higher. So I'm currently working through a whole bunch of server changes to make that work, and during that, it addresses a couple of the more confusing and more edge casey parts of how the game works. And once I've done that, then I can get back to fixing some bugs and making sure everything's nice and stable.
I am a big fan of how they are trying to get more phantoms in the dungeon than what is there are currently. I know that there are multiple times where I'm in a dungeon by myself, and it's not as much fun as when I have like 15, 20 phantoms running past me, or I'm passing them, stuff like that. I do know that for some whips, like the bamboo whip and other whips that have the phantom stealing or taking or stuff like that to the coins, having no phantoms is so much easier than having 15 phantoms, all of them with lightning whips, so they all run past you. They grab all the chests before you have a chance of grabbing it. When he mentioned that he wants to rework the relics, I kind of like the RNG aspect of, you have to run it multiple times to find that last Inferno relic to complete the whole collection. It makes it more meaningful than when you know that you're going to get the last relic on this run. Guaranteed, there's nothing random about it. I don't know how they're going to implement that, but I do like that random-esque kind of feature. I know that it is annoying to grab 3 fragile boxes in a row, but at the same time, it is what it is. It's 100% random, so it is going to happen that you encounter the same relic over and over, especially when you're looking for that last relic. I know my last ruins, my last caverns, and my last infernal relic all took forever for me to get. But speaking of grabbing relics to bless whips, the ice whip. I know that this is a topic in the Discord constantly. You have the people that love the negative curse effect on the ice whip, and you have people that hate it. I hate the icy feet. I want it. I'm so glad that it's gone. I don't want it back. Speedrunners, on the other hand, love it. And I know actually there are people that aren't just speedrunning, but they also like the feeling of it. So Josh is going to address that.
Cool. So, will the ice whip ever get a real debuff? So, are people saying that slidey feet is not a debuff? Is that what's going on there?
Oh, speedrunners say that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was intentionally a curse because it should be harder to play, but I guess it would be a time saver in some places. I'll pass that on to the design team and we'll see what they think.
No, this is a terrible room. This is bad. I'm not qualified for this.
I find it kind of funny how Josh didn't really understand that people liked having icy feet because he's like me. He finds it as a debuff. But my opinion, to kind of make it a little bit better and a little bit more effective, is that the faster and further you run when you try to stop, the longer it's gonna take for you to stop, and the further you're further gonna move. So those that are really trying to avoid tight hammers is gonna be very difficult. For those that are to avoid hitting spikes, that's going to be very difficult. Especially if you're speed running and you're moving really fast in a really fast direction, when you try to stop or try to correct yourself, it's going to be a lot more difficult because you're going to have all that ice and all that momentum pushing you forward or in that direction that you're trying to avoid. As opposed to right now where it's just a little micro, it's very easy to kind of move and tap out. Having the momentum be a lot longer for the further and faster you run, I think would be a little bit more of a debuff if you developers want to take that into consideration. But again, on the topic of relics, someone asked about the relics and having impact in the hub, and I just think that is what Josh is about to explain is a fantastic idea. Here we go.
Will relics gain extra value? So that's related to our plans for transforming the hub as you keep going. So we want the hub to evolve as you play, and I'm not going to give out too many details about how exactly we're going to do that, but yes, your relics will have an effect on the way that the hub looks, and they might also do other things that we haven't decided on yet.
So maybe I purposely lied so that you guys would continue watching the video. He will explain it a little bit further later on, give you a little bit more glimpse behind the curtain. But next, he is talking about something that I disagree with. I think they should not change this. I am a big fan of it, and it is how the 2 different spikes interact with each other. I have a video, again, on traps, talking about the multiple different spike variations, different ways that people know how to exploit them. I'm guessing that's why they want to stop it, but I really hope they don't change it. Quickly, you have a 2x1 and a 2x2 spike. You also have a 1x1, but that's a whole nother category. And basically the 2x1, you can run into it and nothing happens. You'll see actually right before he mentions it, JM runs into it, but runs over a 2x1. It's just a line. And then you also have the 2x2, which is a square that if you run into it, you get hurt. They want to change it. I hope they don't.
Why do 2 variations of the spike traps have 2 different hurt boxes? i.e. the ones that are in a line that's a gate and the ones that are a square. The ones that are a gate, when you walk up to them, they stop you. But the ones that are the square spike traps, if you walk into them, they hurt you. Yes, that's inconsistent. I will raise that in our design chat.
Boom. All right, so I'm actually down here this time. I wanted to kind of go over what I was talking about with the spikes. So up here, you're going to have a 2x1. Regular spikes, that if they come up, you hit them, you die. But cool thing is once they spawn, you can kind of run through them, or if you do it fast enough. Oh, I'm too fast actually. Maybe they changed it. You used to be able to just hit it, run into them, and nothing would happen. Same thing with here. Oh, there you go. So you can kind of run into them and not get hurt, or if you're fast enough, you can go over them, without any damage. Now this is actually the Twitch whip or the basic whip with the cosmetics. So I wanted to show you without anything fancy, you can literally not take any damage as you go through them and just go over. That I guess is why they want to kind of change it a little bit. Same with that. As opposed to the 2x2 where you get hurt. I was like, the first time I was like, oh, it didn't go through. But now the cool thing with the 2x2, of course, is if it's next to it, if two of them are next to each other, you can walk in between and not get hurt. I don't know if they'll change that. I hope as well they don't change that. Same thing with the 2x2 spikes. All that is in my video on traps, if you want to take a look at that. And then next, they talk about having more than one guardian. So let's talk about that.
Will it be possible to have a challenge with more than one guardian? I'm pretty sure there will be that. That will go in at some point.
What? Who wants that?
As crazy as it may seem, I actually really want multiple guardians at one time. In the Discord, we were talking about what if to get that final relic. I know that Ben mentioned having a final relic that only one person can have. And I think for that person to deserve that final relic, they should be able to make it through tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with all the, maybe not all, but maybe all the guardians and with almost all the curses from every whip. So just throw everything together. I think that would be so incredibly difficult that it deserves only one winner. And if that person can defeat it and win, like boom, like that person deserves to have that only relic. That's just my opinion. I mean, right now having like 2 or 3 guardians in one room would be just absolutely crazy. I could see it right now. The Eye of Agony spawn inside the Mass Defiler while the Devouring Rage is just running behind you. You can't run backwards because the Devouring Rage is running behind you. You can't stay in place because the smoke is there, and you can't run forward because the eye is targeting you. That's I think it's going to be awesome. But next, as I promised, here is his response on hub upgrades.
So I'll tell you one thing from the hub upgrades. We were thinking about adding stars to the sky to illustrate the ghosts, the phantoms that you free. So every time you free a phantom, it adds a star to the sky or the ceiling. And so, you could tell how much you've been playing and how many phantoms you've freed by just looking up in the hub. That was one thing that we were talking about. I'm not sure if that'll get in exactly as described, but that was one thing we were talking about.
That's really cool.
I think having stars in the hub of all the phantoms you saved is such a fantastic idea. And the cool thing is, I think to make it just a little bit better, that if you save a temple with your friend that has died, I think they should maybe be a little bit bigger and maybe have their name. I don't know about the name because I'm pretty sure it's going to be really zoomed out so you won't be able to see the name. But at least if it's like a little bit bigger, you can be like, oh, that's a friend, that I saved. So you have like all the little specks of all the little phantoms, especially if they want more phantoms in a temple, then you can make it grow by 15 to 20, but then you have like really big ones that you be like, oh, that's a friend, that's a friend, that's a friend. I think that just makes it a little bit more meaningful. I think it's a super cool idea. I hope they're able to find a way to implement it. Next thing a person asks is about a thing called gadgets. Now gadgets are actually not in the game. They have come up with this idea very similar to blessings, but I'm guessing as same with Josh is instead of it being a thing that you have the entire temple, it is something that is only for a short period of time, whether it's a timed item or an item only in a certain room. I don't know how they're gonna implement it. I don't know if he likes the idea. I don't know anything about that. It's just a concept that a fellow phantom or fellow phantom abysser has asked. Let's see what Josh has to say about it.
Do we plan to add gadgets? So I'm not sure what a gadget is. Is there some context about what a gadget is?
Maybe it's like a doodad or a what's it? Thingamajig.
Yes. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete?
Wouldn't you think I'm the girl?
So consumables you can buy from gold at a shop during the run. I mean, it sounds like blessings, but I'm sure there's some other context that I'm not quite getting about why.
Maybe they're like single-use things, like that you can collect.
Yeah, maybe like a shield that protects you for X time and that you activate on your choosing.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds cool. We like to add cool things. Phantom interaction in the roadmap. Yes. So that's some things like phantoms being able to open doors for you, or you go into a room and there are 4 switches on the ground, and you have to hit all 4 switches to open the door to the next room. But ghosts will be able to hit those for you. So going through gets easier the more phantoms there are to help you, or they can be jerks and just run circles around the switch and not hit it. But I mean, that's not helping them on their run either. So if players want to have fun, then they can in a bunch of ways. I also wanted to add like that kind of concept, but to open secrets, or open not just the door forward, but the door into a treasure room. So there are a bunch of ways that will make phantoms interacting with each other and you more interesting, and they're all on the list.
So I kind of wanted to put those 2 videos together, mainly because they don't really have stuff about the gadget. It's okay, well, we'll put on the list, maybe it's a cool idea, but we don't know too much about it. So I figured that if we get that, it's not going to be for a hot minute. But the next part is the phantom interactions. That is a really cool concept. I can already see so many secret hidden doors that you're going to need phantoms to kind of help you get through. It kind of sucks though if you're the first one, I guess, because you won't be able to get any of the secret doors, I'm guessing. I don't know how they're going to make that work, but it'd be cool to have a phantom kind of mess with you as you're trying to do your run, as they keep, triggering doors open and close, and you trying to get in and whatnot. So I'm really kind of interested to see how they implement that. As well, with dealing with other phantoms, a person asks almost directly afterwards, what about multiplayer? So here's what he has to say about multiplayer.
Are there plans for non-asynchronous multiplayer? This has been probably the number one question that we have had since even before launch. It's been like, oh, this is really cool. Why can't I play at the same time? The short answer is that it's a bunch of problems to solve to keep the players in sync, and to deal with just the usual things that come with real-time multiplayer and networking. It is on our list. I'm not sure how far down the list it is, because we do have a lot of things we want to do with the existing game. We have a very, very good sense of how much extra fun that it would be to go into a dungeon with your friend, and I'm not sure if we would do it Mario style, where you can help each other out, but you can also get in each other's way, or whether it would just be friendly fire on kind of way, or a friendly fire off kind of way. But in saying that, I would probably have to give the players the option to do both. There are a lot of questions to be answered regarding making a real-time multiplayer mode, and we would like to make sure that we do a good job when that comes in. That said, the more people who get on Phantom Abyss, the more that we'll have the ability and the scope to hire people and pay for the experience we need to make multiplayer stuff.
So having Mario Kart themed Phantom Abyss races would be awesome, especially if they include things like gadgets, which the only thing I can imagine is similar to like the item box that you have that has bananas, red shells, all that you can use on Phantoms to slow them down. That's what I'm looking forward to. That'd be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty funny. Next, we have something that is pretty interesting. It is a feature that I never really thought of until at this moment, which is detaching yourself mid-grapple. I don't ever find myself in a need for it, but I don't see why it would not be a feature. But apparently it was already in the game, if you listen to what Josh has to say.
Okay, a way to detach the grapple early. Okay, that's something that used to be in there. It used to be if you press jump while you were doing a grapple pull, it would detach and stop. With that particular control setup, we found that people would just get confused and they would be like, oh, my grapple stopped for no reason or like my grapple didn't work when they'd pressed jump or been spamming jump and grapple at the same time. So that is something that we had, and I think it's still a good idea, but we'll have to figure out a way that works, a control method that works without making it confusing or feel like your input is busted.
So I never thought of detaching a grapple mid-air, but I have thought of multiple grapples. And apparently Josh might have to do something with the new zone. So in the Rift, it is called. I almost forgot what it was called. In the Rift, he says it should maybe potentially be an option. We don't know. We shall see. Here we go.
Oh, so last Q&A it was hinted that the Rift would have something to let you grapple more than once in the air.
Was it?
Yes, Ben did hint that.
Oh, I wasn't listening.
That one is a mechanic that will be going in, and it will probably be used in the Rift and later. I don't think that one slips into the game in earlier areas. I think that one just goes into the Rift and the next area after that, because the mechanics kind of pile on and build up as we go through. It's not going to be areas where you can just whip to your heart's content. It's something more specific than that.
It used to be you
And
could whip to your heart's content.
That was a bug.
I liked that bug. That was a feature.
But then people just Spider-Man everywhere. It was not.
Oh yeah, that sounds terrible. You know what game sold a lot? Spider-Man.
But does it make you feel like Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I think that's the real question.
So one of the features in the game currently is the bounce pad, which makes you kind of for a moment defy gravity and go up into the air via the air vent. But this one of the fellow phantom person asked if there was something that we could do with anti-gravity, and I was like, that'd be really interesting to see how they implement it. I mean, we've seen that they can implement a room that is spinning, which can kind of show a little bit of anti-gravity, but not really. So I was kind of curious. His answer is, of course, cool idea. We don't know if that's going to happen yet because they never really thought of it. But that's the one thing I like about these question and answers, is that the community has such great ideas that the developers never really thought of putting into the game. So, he's always like, well, let's see. Let's see how it works. Let's see if we can get it to work. If it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, then we're not going to put it in. But the way he answers, I think it's just spot on.
Oh, will the Rift have gravity-changing platforms? That sounds pretty cool. I don't know that is one of the current things that is in the works, but that might get added considering how cool that sounds. What gave us inspiration to make the runic language? So secretly, not too secretly, I'm a big fan of the Game Theory channel on YouTube, and I kind of want Phantom Abyss to get an episode of Game Theory, and that was part of why I pushed to have the language put into the game.
Is this a channel where people decode stuff from games?
Yeah.
Nice.
And also, there's a whole set of lore, whole story in that language that we just don't tell to players any other way. Yeah, the inspiration was that I wanted to give players something that wasn't directly related to the second-to-second gameplay to sink their teeth into and to talk about and to come together and collaborate and figure out amongst themselves.
So on that note, I want to remind you guys on Tuesdays around 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, I think that is correct. They'll be doing weekly live streams on Devolver's Twitch. I want you guys to come on in, ask some questions, hang out with the community. The devs are taking their time out of their day to answer some of our serious questions and some of our funnier ones. I'm not able to go through all the questions in these recaps that I'm doing. I'm picking out the ones that I find important, find that I can talk about, that I think is important for the future of the game, for the future of the temples, what they're implementing. But there are plenty of other questions like getting plushies for the guardians, stuff like that I can't really go over. It's just a fun time hanging out with the developers, with JM from Devolver, with the community. So I do highly recommend just coming in, and even if you're Larkin's fine. But I've enjoyed doing these recaps, going back into the VODs and re-looking at everything, figuring out what I like, what's important. Has made me come to another level of appreciation appreciation for this game. So I'm excited. I'm so excited for when this Rift is going to drop and all the different features that are going to come with it. I hope that you guys are enjoying these videos as well. If you can, drop a like, subscribe, a comment. Even if you don't like what I'm doing, you can hit that dislike button and leave a comment on how I can change it. I know I've had a friend reach out to me and give me some tips and advice. I'm going to try implementing some of those in my part 3 recap for this week that just happened. But yeah, that's the one thing I like about this community, that we're all learning and growing together. So again, thank y'all for stopping by, and until next time, I'll see you later.
Thank you, chat.
Do you believe you could fly?
I believe I could touch the sky.
You think about it every night and day?
Yep. I'll grow my wings and be put into a circus. Night and day they'll come to see me.